Welcome to Post Break. My name is Chris Peterson. I'm a disembodied voiceover person right now because we have our first slide loaded up and ready to go, but I'm the board secretary of the Post Alliance. I also chair the Education and Events Committee, and I'm working in the Post department on a feature film right now. And today's topic is Together in Transition: Discovering Possibilities While Navigating Downtime. And now to introduce our moderator, she created Ethos Equals Everything Within, because how you show up directly impacts the environments where you live and work. Her science-based coaching helps people master the many roles they play in their lives and can be designed to suit both groups and individuals. And she is, of course, a PNYA board member and chair of the Sustainability Committee. Please give a warm welcome to Kim Spikes.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you to the PNYA and Education Committee for having us on another Post Break. Today, we are continuing the conversation from our last one, which if you didn't catch it, don't worry, it is on the PNYA website, along with all of the other Post Break series, and we are number 55 back then. That one was about resilience strategies like box breathing and glimmers, focusing on the tools to build resilience. And I think they're going to drop in the chat how to find that for you guys. And today we are extending the conversation to finding resilience within your community. So we're moving from the individual experience to the group this time. And a lot of these conversations happen, I've noticed, in silos. So we wanted to have it together, essentially crowdsourcing a lot of the ideas that people have and what they're doing, and continue normalizing the feelings around this really abnormal time. And today we're going to focus on a few areas: learning new transferable skills, furthering your education, tapping into your creativity through hobbies, and finding ways to make money while the industry continues to rebuild. We'll also have a list that Chris mentioned in the chat so that you can put your contact information, and this will be great so you can reconnect with people afterwards. It'll give you an opportunity to collaborate and give you more information on topics. If something comes up and we don't get to fully discuss it, you can reach out to the person who brought it up. And it's optional. You don't have to sign up for that. We'll also compile the links. You're going to see a lot of them today, and we'll put those all into one place and send it out to the people who offer up their emails so that you'll have all these resources later and you don't have to spend the whole time trying to click on everything and keep up with that. So a quick introduction, as Chris said, I'm Kim Spikes, and PNYA board member, co-founder of the Sustainability Committee. I was SVP of Post Factory Sim Picture Shop before co-founding Ethos with Shawn, who will introduce himself now and tell you a little bit more about our company.
Thanks, Kim. Yes, Dr. Shawn Chrisman here, and I'm a therapist and author by trade. And Kim and I really came together to create Ethos Everything from Within in order to help support people in finding ways to show up more fully in the various realms of life, whether that's professionally or personally. And so a few of the bullets here speak to that: how to crush imposter syndrome, understand your work styles, how do you amplify your communication, elevate your presence, be your authentic self, and ask for what you want and need. And one of the ways that we're going to help equip that's coming up is a workshop that we're doing in November. There's one on Saturday, November 16th, and Tuesday, November 19th. There's a QR code here that you can scan, and it will take you directly to a form that gives you some more information. And again, some things that we hope to impart during that 90 minutes together is, what is self-awareness? 90% of people say that they're self-aware, identify as being self-aware. The research shows and points to it's really more about 10 to 15% of people are actually self-aware. So that's a big disparity there. And part of that conversation we want to have during the workshop is, okay, what is self-awareness? How are we defining that concept? Ways that you can increase it and overcome some blocks that may be showing up with that self-awareness. So again, you can register and get some more information by scanning that QR code. And yeah, let's do a quick poll. We did this with part one a few months back, and we had people respond to the chat. I think this time we have a poll available. And so we just want to know, what is your current stress level? How is stress showing up in your life? Is it on the lower end? Is it in the middle? Or is it extremely high, that 9 to 10 range? So just take a moment and identify where you might be.
Can you see them?
So
Yeah.
Great.
yeah, it looks like most people are falling in that mid to higher range. What we see between 5 and 8 is rounding. Oh, this is my math skills trying to come into play. 77%, I think, of us are identifying in that 5 to 8 range.
Which I feel like this is pretty similar to last time. It may have been a little higher last time.
It was definitely a lot in that 7 to 10 range last time. So maybe a slight shift to lowering that stress.
Okay.
So Kim, how do we want to, continue this conversation?
So the first thing we want to do is to, again, the idea of this is to really get within your community and see what everybody's doing. So we're going to do breakout rooms. What you will have a breakout room, we'll have a number, and the number corresponds, as you can see on to the right, of what the topic's going to be. There should be around 5 to 8 people, I believe, in each breakout room. So if you're uncomfortable and you're just like, oh, I didn't come here to talk to people out loud, that's totally fine. You can tell everybody that you're just observing today, not a problem. And once you get into the rooms, if you can decide who is going to come back and be the person who will give the insights back to the room, and you'll have 10 minutes to talk about the topic. So jobs, it could be, oh, I'm doing something in internet security, and that's kind of, it's going to be helpful for understanding security better when I get back into whatever role that I was doing before in entertainment, or AI, learning more about prompts. Gig work, I have a friend who is a dog walker and makes an obscene amount of money doing that. Education, there are free programs that are out there. So if people have been doing them and they found some that are really successful, let everybody know. Hobbies was suggested because just tapping into your creativity and finding something fun, like I'm sure there's a bunch of marathon runners for New York who are about to do that in a couple of weeks. You know, that's something that you could have been spending some time on, and is great for relieving stress. And then work, there's, you know, there's the entertainment industry, and when you're in it, it feels like that's all there is, but there are other things. And, you know, what other creativity or creative outlets have you had? Maybe gaming, maybe you've been doing something on the corporate side, social side. So talking about that. If you are in a group and it is not the group that you have been actually doing a lot of the last few months, don't worry about it, because ideas, when you come back to the main room, then you can be like, oh, I have actually some ideas on gig work, or I took this class, and you can feel free to put them in the chat, and then just really an open discussion. And so with that, oh, and there is a Slack channel if you run the PNYA, and we will put that in the chat as well. And so that is for PNYA members. If you're not a member, you can always sign up to be one, but we will continue the conversation in Slack as well. But we'll also send out some of this information and the links, like I said earlier, to people who sign up on the list. So now we can go in the breakout rooms. We'll see you back in 10 minutes. Hey, I guess we all just came back. I wasn't sure if maybe that was from a group that stayed back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So now we're going to talk about some of the different categories that you all did in the breakout room. I hope you got to meet some new people, and maybe in a little more casual, different way than usual. So first, let me turn this off because I can't see you.
So Kim, as you're announcing the groups, AI came back, and so Joe was helping lead us through a bit of that conversation. You may want him to jump back in and reshare.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, Joe, if you don't mind.
We probably had a couple groups that had AI, but yeah, that's number one. So yeah, jobs with transferable skills.
Cool. So as I was saying, my name is Joe Kudik. I'm an online editor and colorist in New York City. While my AI experience is pretty limited, recently I had a client for reality television who shot a sit-down interview, which could not be reshot. And focus was completely missed. Face was extremely soft, and my usual tools were not working for it. With a little bit of research, I found Topaz's Video AI, a $300 a year subscription, which knocked it out perfectly. Clips were pretty short, anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds each, and were processed in a few minutes. Focus was sharp, and the client was happy, and they were billed and didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does anybody, did your group have any other kind of transferable skills or things that they were doing that they felt like were gonna work well when they are doing projects like you're talking about? And this could
No,
be anything. This could be like completely out of the industry, but that it seems to work well coming back into it.
our group is pretty limited on the AI knowledge, and just like myself, we were trying to utilize it as a tool going forward to help post-production pipelines to expedite processes, namely just trying to figure out ways to increase productivity with like rotoscoping and stuff like that. For me, it's been a new tool just to help, as I said, with focus fixing and upscaling and stuff like that. It hasn't been, I haven't unfortunately had, to use it for much other than that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I know we probably had one other group that also did transferable skills. If you are doing that one, you can raise your hand if you want to put what you guys talked about, and anyone's welcome. So feel free to drop things in the chat too. If you're like, oh, I did this and it's been helpful. I know while that group gets ready, I know I have a friend who got a job training AI. And so she was like, this is just an interesting thing I can do on the side. It has nothing to do with what I do every day. But she said it has been incredibly helpful to understand, because basically she puts prompts in and then tests what AI puts back out. And then if there's any red flags, like when she asked AI its name and it had a name for itself, then she reports that back to the company that it has gotten outside the boundaries. And so that's what she's looking for, is these anomalies. And she said that she knows prompts so well now, anything that she wants, she knows exactly how to ask to get what she wants back out, and that it's pretty phenomenal what it can do. So that's just something that she did on the side. But then when she comes back into and is working full time in this industry, she thinks it'll be really helpful in the future. And it looks like Daniel took an AI course hosted by, one of his clients. Does anybody else have any? Oh, called the upgrade. Daniel, what did they cover in that one?
Here, I'll just speak.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing that you were talking about, Kim, that your colleague was teaching. Basically like whatever prompts. We focused a lot on using art, like visual art programs, like Midjourney and a few others that I can't think of right now. But yeah, we basically figured that out. We also talked about the fears of AI going into the election this year. And we tried out a few prompts on ChatGPT on like creating like fake like posts, tweets from the candidates. The good news is that for the most part, programs like ChatGPT, they are kind of like censoring that kind of stuff when it comes to politics. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say yes, Shawn, that's the website.
Yeah, so people can check that out. I also know some people who have gone more on the security side that were engineers or in tech, working for companies part-time or full-time. And so that has been a big advantage of just seeing kind of what their protocols are and what they're doing, and just working purely in security, knowing when they come back, it'll help benefit the companies they're working for in projects. I see there's another one, the Gen A I2 for producers. Lucian, you have anything on that one?
No, Lucian teaches it from Mechanism Digital. He's already done 10 and he's doing, I think, 12, and there's 4 left. So people can sign up, and then he sends you the link afterwards.
Yeah, these are great. Anything else for this one? No. Well, how about we switch to gig work? So I know from talking to a lot of people that there is, it's hard to be like, oh, I either lost my job or underemployed or whatever the situation. I know it can be hard to have to go and do something else for a little while, especially if you're just doing something that's kind of bidding time until you can get back on another project as they start to ramp back up. I have a really good friend of mine who has an Academy Award, and last winter during the holidays, he was just like, yep, I'm going to work for Amazon. I'm working in the warehouse. I consider it a workout and I'll get paid. And he was just like, that's what I need to do. I have a family and I can't wait. So he picked up, kind of these types of jobs in between. And so, I'm curious what people are doing. I had mentioned earlier, I have a friend who's a dog walker in New York, and they make a lot of money. I was pretty, like almost six figures. He was just like, yeah, I have a group of clients, and then they told me about new people. He always has like a bunch of dogs with him everywhere he goes. And he takes them back to his house and they hang out all day. So it's kind of fun to see, like, he just turned something that you wouldn't even really think about into something pretty profitable for himself. And also, if you attended the Post New York Sustainability trash pickup over the weekend, we had another person in the PNYA who decided to go and get, I think, certified so that he could do tours. So you have to get certified in New York to do that. So he's giving like ghost tours and tours about gangsters and, downtown. And so that was just kind of a fun way to learn. And then he can get in front of people, and he's making money and he's enjoying it. So I'm curious, what else have you guys been doing or have heard of that others are doing that you think could be kind of nice for the whole group to consider? And you can put them also in the chat. Shawn, you have any? Oh, sorry.
Oh, hi. So,
Hi, Amanda.
I think that was our breakout room. I was not really successful at getting like outside gig work. I tried the dog walking thing. You needed a whole process to go through that. I didn't go through with it, but I've been doing online surveys, and I might have referred a couple of people in this group to some surveys that pay you to like fill out a survey online and you get paid for it or something like that. So that was one side gig thing I did. Apart from like working on documentaries on the side last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else from the other groups have any ideas?
One resource that I found recently that I have been trying to take advantage of, there's a New York, I guess state or city has a seasonal job, like kind of board or page. So I am putting that in the chat right now.
Oh, that's cool.
They have like administrative jobs and temp, like it seems like it's mostly seasonal work. So, because I know if you're in a specific industry like ours and that's all you've done for a long time, it seems like it's kind of hard to find like a long-term part-time or full-time job. Like I've been like questioned, like, well, as soon as work comes back in your industry, aren't you just going to leave? And I was honest and I said yes. And that probably wasn't a good idea, but like for a seasonal job, it's like you have a little bit more leeway. Like I don't think they necessarily expect you to, they don't expect you to stay. So it's not as, there's not as much pressure to, you know what I mean? Get the job and earn the job. And there's probably less barriers to get the job. So that's in the chat right now if people want to check that out.
Yeah, that's cool. That's sort of along the lines of what my friend who went to Amazon. That's why he chose that same reason. So he didn't feel bad whenever when he left early. Does anybody else have some? I think these are always kind of fascinating. What about you, Shawn? You have any suggestions?
I think creativity, anytime we can bring creativity into the conversation and just think about what we might witness in our everyday life. Is there an opportunity there? Absolutely. The survey idea is fantastic because at those you can almost complete at your own pace and be rewarded for those. So I definitely have seen clients do that in the past. I've seen them sometimes with more of the caretaking jobs or caregiving jobs. They might support, it doesn't require a license or additional education. They might show up in those spaces. Again, I think creativity in all the thoughts around it.
Yeah. I think also another one to consider is, you know, bartender, some of those are interesting because it really brushes up on your social skills and really getting in front of people and talking. And so that can help some people like really break out of their shell. And for other people, it's just nice to connect because I know it's been a long time periods that we spend at home now. And so being able to get out and meet new people and be more social. So those are some ideas too. And, you know, the bartenders make quite a bit of money. They get tips. So that can be like a quick way to pick up shifts, and it can get you around I'm leaving, or I can't, you know, I need to go focus on these interviews or whatever. And you don't feel like you're leaving someone kind of high and dry.
I think
looks
Daniel,
like Daniel worked. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I think exactly what you're saying. Daniel was talking about some of the work, how it might help with socialization. We may tend to get very isolated when we're in these spaces. And so any opportunities to maintain that, because that isolation is not always productive for our mental health. And I think it's a great transition to group number 3, huh?
Yes. Education. Who had education? I feel like this should be one that everybody's been doing stuff. Greg. Yeah. What did you?
LinkedIn Learning is a good place to learn different softwares. And then they also have like different classes for social skills and stuff. I know they have stuff for Avid, After Effects, DaVinci. So that's a good place to go. And if you are a member of an IATSE union, it is free. And I'm putting the link for that in the chat. Completely free to sign up. And it only took them like a week to get back to me. And then if you are not in the guild, you can do it through the public library. So you just need a library card and then you can sign up. And it's also like free. It's not a discount. Like it's totally free. You can take any class. And as far as I know, it's permanent access. So that is a good thing to have.
Yeah, that's huge. That's great. Milen.
Hey everyone. So I'm going to put a link in the chat too for a potential resource for some of you guys to check out. It's the Occupational Outlook Handbook from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And basically it kind of gives you an idea, you know, depending on the industry and, you know, field, what, basically how some of these jobs outside of this industry are, how much you can expect to get paid. And you can start, you know, kind of, if anything appeals to you, you can kind of, or you think you might have a transferable skill for, you can sort of start researching and figure out, you know, like how you can maybe start working in that field.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I also see where Mike added the public library LinkedIn learning site. So I assume that is free as well if you're going through your public library.
Yes,
Mike,
yeah, it's totally free as far as.
Yeah. That's great. So those are some good ones. Also, keep in mind there's depending on where you are in your career, if you want to learn more about production management, post-production management, there's Media Makers who has a program that's training. And I know, Milen, you've gone through that. So that's a good one. And then there's also Made in New York has a program, and there's several others. So those are some that you can sign up and try and get into as well. I think actually probably several people have gone through those programs that are on this call today. Let me see. Steve has one, a colorist by trade. He recently took the editing course at the Manhattan Edit Workshop to learn more about that aspect. So that's a really good point, I think, for Steve, is maybe you are an editor and you want to learn a little bit more about sound or something, taking those classes that are maybe not exactly in your wheelhouse, but something that kind of feeds into whatever you're doing, so you have better knowledge. And then next year, you know a little bit more of what someone's handing off to you or you're handing off to someone else. So it's a good time to learn those as well. Course Horse. Gina, what's that? Are you guys familiar with that one?
Yeah, I posted that. That's just kind of like a search engine that you can find a bunch of different courses. I found there's an Avid course I took through Manhattan Edit Workshop that I found through CourseWars. So it's just a way to like search for classes
For
essentially.
bunch. Okay. And I assume that's kind of both ones that you have to pay for and ones that are free.
Yeah, there's like a range. I had to pay for the classes I took, but it's just a good resource, I guess.
Yeah. And do you think they were pretty good? Worth it?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Okay, that's great. And then I see Entertainment Partners Studios as a platform as well, that Milan put up. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, these are great. So we'll pull this list, and you guys can keep adding them. And so that everybody has these as resources. They look pretty good. The next one is hobbies. So tapping into your creativity. And the group I was in, do you guys want to? They were not eager to be the ones sharing. Does anybody want to take a stab at it? See if their faces pop up.
Yeah, I'll go.
Oh, yay. You had a great one. I loved it.
Yes, we had a lot of interesting hobbies. I'll start with myself. I started going to wine classes. I've always liked wine. And I found one by a Trader Joe's I go to. And whenever I buy food or want to cook for myself, I always think about what I can drink as well. And so I found this program where it's only like $100 a year and I can go to an unlimited amount of wine tastings. Usually kind of at not great hours for us at 7, but I try to get there. And it's really about like building community and finding ways to utilize our time when, there's so much available time to us now when it's so slow. And then also just being super active physically, like Anne is running the marathon in 2 weeks. I picked up tennis again, finding ways to communicate and socialize. We also are playing board games. I think Kim said she's playing Mahjong. Yael is playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think she's like a master. So it's like her job to create obstacles for her players. And it's usually at her place or someone else's place. So yeah, just finding community, staying social, keeping up with our mental and physical health.
I think you forgot to mention that you're going to nationals with the
Yeah,
tennis.
I don't
think
like
that's a
talking
big
about
one.
myself. Yep, that is true. The team I'm on, we qualified for nationals. So I will be in Arizona.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Yeah, it was funny. It's just like, oh, I play tennis and I'm just envisioning at the park this nice game. And then she's like, and nationals. And I'm like, oh, that's a little different than what I was seeing in my head. Does anyone else want to add something that they've been doing on the side?
Just going to say, because I was seeing it in the comments here, there's a lot of music oriented people. I played music forever and then kind of stopped for a while. So I've been using this downtime, finding people to play with and keep that the creative side going. It's nice. And I see a lot of other people are as well.
Yeah, Chris Peterson, get the band back together. You have everybody you need on this call. I expect to see a show when I come back to New York now.
First rehearsal is Monday at 6 o'clock. Everyone be there.
Yeah, expect to see everybody's face there. Oh, the ukulele, I love it. Yes. Another one I did not mention when I was in that group was improv there, and I'll put that in the link here in a little bit. There's a great improv group where you can just casual improv. It's all online, and it's actually, I was terrified, but it's a lot more fun than it sounds. There's no pressure, and if you don't want to do something, you don't have to, but it is a lot of fun to just get out of your head and just say whatever comes to the top of your mind. So I would definitely encourage people to do that if you want to, like Nia was saying, be a little more social and kind of get outside of your comfort zone and try something new. Yeah, this music thing is really blowing up the chat. Chris, you're gonna have a big band. Get ready. Does anybody else have any other hobbies before we move to the last one? Okay, moving on. Working in other genres. So I know that's another thing that people can do. So who had that group? I can start by saying that, clearly there's corporate work, and which will get you more into your 9 to 5 and they obviously do a ton of video work, commercial. I know the commercial and advertising industry isn't as strong these days, but they still, you know, pay well and do have work. And as I think if the streaming changes and starts shoving commercials back into our our television, we're gonna see probably an uptick in that. And then there is video games. Obviously, that's a thriving industry and still doing really well. And see if anybody else has any that come to mind for them. Looks like I see Susan's picking up work from her previous, oh, and photo shoots. So yeah, photo shoots are good. Looks like Paul has tons of contacts in broadcast, but none in corporate. So that could be something that people could share too, if you do have contacts in these other sister industries, to share those so that people can take a look at it. California residents, it looks like there's the studioarts.com. So those are some others. Well, great. I think this was kind of a moment to be able to share and see what other people are doing. And I feel like on the education front, we got a lot of great requests. The hobbies was a lot of fun. And we can continue to throw things in the chat. And again, we're going to try, I hope someone on our end is pulling all these together. And oh yeah, put your name in the guest book. Thanks, Rebecca, for putting that in there again. So put your name and contact information if you want to be contacted by other people in the organization. If you don't, please don't put it in there. And this will give you a place to continue to chat. And like I said earlier, we do encourage people to join the PNYA so then that you can join the larger chats that we have and continue talking to people that way as well. So now we're going to move on. I'm going to introduce someone who's going to come and speak to us about kind of what they did during their time. So if we could pin Amy, that would be great. So Amy Engelwitz is an award-winning writer, producer, content strategist with over 15 years of experience in entertainment industry. She advanced to Vice President of Digital Content and Social Media at Warner Brothers Discovery, overseeing content strategy for Investigation Discovery and the Travel Channel. Amy's notable work includes creating the digital series Still a Mystery, which became so popular, it transitioned to television. And she also produces a weekly newsletter, Laid Off Life, which she'll be speaking about today. So to kick this off, you know, Amy, getting laid off, which happened to me as well after working somewhere for 13 years, which was very disorienting and tough. How did you find strength to kind of push through the initial shock and then build resilience and do all these, do some of these projects that happened afterward?
Yeah, so, oh geez, that's a loaded question. Box breathing, journaling, meditation, career coaching, therapy, lots of woo-woo stuff. I even paid an Etsy witch to cast a job spell for me. Don't judge me.
Oh, I love that. Put that in the chat. We need that link. We'll do a seance next time.
Do or don't. But no, seriously, strength and resilience are so hard to summon when you're surrounded by so much uncertainty of either being laid off or, you know, coupled with the horrible headlines about our industry that I'm sure you see all the time. And it feels really impossible to escape that sense of like existential dread that everything is, you know, going to pot. So I have been there myself. And as Kim mentioned, I was laid off from Warner Brothers Discovery in 2023 after 8 years as a digital and social media content executive. And you might have seen the recent headline. I think this came out a few weeks ago, but the US economy exceeded expectations in September, adding something like 300,000 jobs. But the entertainment industry is still shedding positions, especially in film, broadcasting, content production. So it's really no secret, I think, to any of us that our industry has been in crisis for years now. You've got the mergers, the strikes, the layoffs, and jobs are really disappearing faster than they're being created these days. And I think many of us have heard this phrase and we're clinging to the idea of survive till 25. But really, the reality is you know, I think we have no guarantee that things will go back to normal, or, you know, if that normal will even look the same as we knew it previously. So what do we do in the meantime, right? That's the big question. And you guys had so many good ideas, and we covered, you know, a lot of the things that you do in the meantime. And I was also just, I want to say I was very inspired by everybody's hobbies. I was like, oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that. So very inspiring. But, you know, I know firsthand how tough it is to kind of push through when your industry's at a standstill. But I'll tell you a little bit about what I did and what I learned personally. So, you know, I think the most important thing is being open to the idea of pivoting, whether that's pivoting out of the industry completely or pivoting in different directions while things are kind of slow or at a standstill or falling apart, whatever you want to call it. And not just because you're forced to, but because I think it's the right move for, you know, personal growth and sanity. A little bit of backstory for me. So I've been through 2 major career pivots in my life, one in 2009 and then again in 2023. And both of those times they were triggered by layoffs. My first pivot, I was working in theater in Broadway production, and I had worked in theater my whole career up until then. My pivot in 2009 went really smoothly. I was relieved to be laid off. I transitioned into writing and really built a successful career from there. And after my most recent layoff, I figured, okay, the next pivot, it's going to be just as easy. And spoiler alert, it really was not. I went through a serious roller coaster of emotions. I worked with a career coach. I did what I call the throwing spaghetti at the wall method of applying for jobs that I didn't even want, just out of fear. That's when you're like, I could do that. I could do that. Now I'm thinking I could be a dog walker after hearing Kim talk about that. But just so, you know, I did the throwing spaghetti at the wall. I faced a ton of rejections because they're just, the job market in the industry is super competitive. And I felt like I was at rock bottom and I would never work again. Does that feeling sound familiar to anybody here? Anybody relate to that? Okay, so the turning point for me was really when I stopped applying for jobs that didn't excite me, and I started just really focusing and doubling down on what truly lights me up and brings me joy. So I returned to my passion, which is writing, and I launched my newsletter, Laid Off Life. It's at Laid Off Life on Substack. I hope you'll subscribe. And it really just helped me process the feelings I was going through, thinking about what I would do next. You know, I say it helped me process the process, and it helped me build a community of people that were going through the same thing. And that was really important, to just feel like I wasn't alone in this. And I definitely was not alone. I am not alone, and you're not alone, because a lot of people are experiencing this right now. From there, it took me a little while, but I decided to start my own business. Actually, my business is called Align Digital and Social, and I, you know, am leveraging my skills that I've developed over the last 15 years in you know, in the industry, to help individuals, businesses, and brands navigate the chaotic world of digital content and social media. So helping people get their social media presence, their online presence, their content strategy together. And, you know, I started to get clients right away. I also leveraged my existing skills to pick up lots of freelance work. So for me, that was freelance writing, freelance copywriting, also doing TV and podcast development, and some production and development stuff for various production companies. And I didn't stop there. I also doubled down on my creative hobbies, which, again, you know, writing's my work, and it's a hobby for me. And I started working on a bunch of Christmas movie concepts, and I sold my first movie to Hallmark and joined the Writers Guild this year, which was really a long time dream of mine. So that's kind of where it led me. And the thing, like I said, that got me there was really just leaning into what made me happy, what brought me joy, instead of letting, taking an inside out approach, I should say, instead of taking an outside in approach and waiting for the industry to give me permission to work or permission to do what I wanted to do. So here's my advice, for whatever it's worth while navigating downtime or industry crisis, I would say, and it's some of the stuff we already talked about, take stock of your skills, your hobbies, your interests. What can you leverage? What if you always wanted to do but didn't have time for, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons, making music, playing tennis, right? Don't be afraid to experiment. So I'd like to give myself permission to try a lot of different things. So, start making things, doing things, meeting people, like you said, taking classes. Give yourself permission to try things and pressure test them. Like, I like to pressure test the work. That was something I told myself I wanted to do. So I wanted to find out, what do I like doing in practice as opposed to just in theory? Right? Because we all think, oh, I could do that. I would love to do that. And then when you get to it, you're like, yeah, not really. This was a big one for me also, was letting joy lead the way. So engaging in activities that I loved because they lead me to opportunities. They've led me to opportunities. And I really do believe when you're excited about something, other people get excited about it too. And then patience. This really just takes some time, and let it take some time. And if you're like, I don't have time, Amy, I need to pay my bills, I understand that. That is a very real thing for all of us. And, we were talking about viable ways to pay your bills, thinking outside the box for side hustles and whatnot, and temporary work. And it might be temporary, but regardless, whatever you're doing, I think it's also important to take the time to do the inner work, to really connect with what you want, what's your purpose, what, makes you feel fulfilled in life. That it seems like essential work that I did to kind of get me to a place of more clarity. And while you may not have everything figured out right now, I certainly don't have everything figured out, but the first step, I think, is taking back your agency, right? Don't let the fear lead the way. You get in the driver's seat, you take control of your own life, your own career, your own path, even if you're unsure of where it will lead, even if the industry is, hurting around you. If you keep moving forward, eventually you will land somewhere that you feel really good about. So
thank you, Amy. That's an amazing list
for today. Yeah.
We appreciate that so much. I'm going to quickly wrap us up. I was just going to show you kind of in that same headspace. There are some things that PNYA offers, so be sure and join if you're not a member. There's a lot of social events, the intelligence gathering, there's the post break that you're attending today, and this is a series that happens every month. So Chris has a really good program for it and loves ideas, so you can put those in the chat. And then the sustainability committee, there's the trash pickup, screenings, events, and a lot of those are in person if you prefer to kind of be in the room with people. And kind of going back to what Amy was saying, sign up if you're interested. We will provide a complimentary coaching session so that you can kind of attend to get a better idea of what it looks like for you and maybe the blocks that you have during transitioning. And also we are going to do a series, a workshop on self-awareness, what others know about you that you should too. And it helps you kind of figure out a little bit more about yourself in the eyes of how other people see you. So we really appreciate everybody joining. Again, I know a billion different links were popping up in the chats. Thank you so much. And we will compile those and send them out. We put Amy's information in there, which will also go to anyone who signs up the form and puts their contact information in. And again, to Amy's point, the box breathing and all the kind of techniques and tools for this time period are in the old post break. And again, that was number 55 in the series. So you can check that out for a more in-depth of kind of what you can do personally during this time. And then now I'll hand it back to Chris.
Yeah, just to echo what Kim said, thank you for coming. Be sure to check out old post-break archives for all kinds of stuff to learn, especially during right now. And there's ones that are not just about how to plan your career, but they're about the learning adjacent crafts and broadening your skills, generally speaking. So there's actually a lot of post breaks that could apply right now. And we will see you again before the holidays. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.